Hello, all you amazing women, and welcome to How to Feel Like a Midlife Goddess. With me, Amanda Ryder, nutritionist and author. Now, I call this podcast How to Feel Like a Midlife Goddess because, let's face it, so many of us don't feel like shining in midlife. We can be grappling with physical and psychological symptoms, which can lead to a real loss of confidence, and it can feel like you're really losing your identity. However, I believe it's possible for us all to feel good at this time of our lives. So each week, I'm going to be sharing with you my best nutrition and lifestyle advice, as well as interviewing expert speakers. And week by week, together, we will build upon a foundation of healthy, sustainable habits that will really benefit us and make all the difference to how we feel. So stay tuned, because this is your recipe for thriving at midlife and bringing out your inner goddess. Today we are joined by Jackie Lamyman. Now, Jackie was, like many of us, caught off guard with perimenopause symptoms in her early 40s, and some of these symptoms adversely affected her skin. And since then, she's created her own skincare brand, Made of More, and she is here today to tell us a little bit about her experience, her products, her advice on problematic skin in midlife. So welcome to the podcast, Jackie.
Thank you, Amanda. It's wonderful to be here. How exciting.
Well, it's lovely to have you. And I'm really looking forward to chatting about your experience and tapping into your knowledge. And, what I've noticed with your skincare products is they do have, slightly different ingredients to what we're used to seeing. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you, Jackie. Why you created, your experience and why you created these unique skincare products.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Sort of menopause and perimenopause and how those things manifest themselves. I sort of noticed from the age of about 40 that I felt a bit off. I didn't feel kind of quite right. And I had a sort of bit of anxiety, and I just felt that something something had changed. I didn't know what it was. Obviously, I'm 46 now, so I'm pleased to say that people's knowledge of perimenopause and menopause has kind of moved on even in that sort of short time. But I think that was the kind of thing that if somebody said to you, "Oh, how are you?" you can sort of sweep, a night sweat or a hot flash or something like that under the carpet. But if your skin looks bad, you don't feel great. And my skin overnight just went absolutely nuts. And I think generally we say, oh, well, your skin will get drier. And I can tell you from my experience and from the women that I talk to day in, day out, that is absolutely not the case. The way that hormones affect your skin is that it can manifest in so many different ways. So we talk about dryness, but we also talk about spots. We talk about melasma, which is dark patches in your skin. We talk about dryness. We talk about rosacea. In fact, the one thing that we categorically don't talk about is anti-aging. So really, when my face started to fall apart, I knew that I had to do something about it. And I went to go and see Dr. Sunny, who is our consultant women's health expert. He's a GP himself. He's passionate about women's health. And he said to me, have you considered that it might be hormonal? And I was just absolutely floored by it. I'm an ex-chartered surveyor. I used to work in investment banking and moved up to Lincolnshire when my husband became a farmer. I was sort of pretty in control and, thought I had it all going on. And just that one comment was like, what on earth are you talking about? How can it possibly be? So I now know that these symptoms can manifest themselves really from quite an early age, sort of 35 plus. And I now know that hormones affect every single physiological aspect of your being, whether it's mental, physical, emotional. And that seemed like such an interesting and compelling thing to be talking about and to make women aware of, because I consider myself to be sort of, reasonably well-educated, intelligent person. And I had absolutely no idea that that was what was going on. And so I thought, oh my, I need women to know about this. I need them to understand
Mm,
exactly how it
yeah.
works. We can kind of delve into the science a bit more if you'd like to later on. But yeah, that was the beginning of Made of More, I think.
Yeah, and you don't expect symptoms at 40, 41, 42. You kind of think, well, you hear about menopause and it's kind of 50s.
Mm,
But actually, if you think about midlife, midlife is described from 35 onwards. And hormones, do start changing from like for most people, like in their sort of early 40s.
yeah,
And I
that's
remember someone saying to me when I was like 42 and I was having a consultation with somebody, I can't remember what it was for now, but they were like, oh, well, in, 6, 7 years' time, you'll be kind of menopausal. And I was like, no, I will not be. It's like, I've got years of periods to go. What are you talking
not
about? And
me.
it kind of had real negative connotations. And I think what's
Yeah.
brilliant now is that everyone is talking about it. And yeah, there's no shame. I mean, it's just, part of a woman's biological system is that, we stop, having our ovaries stop producing as much, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone as we get older. And, we're now finding tools to deal with that. But yeah, the
Mm,
sooner we know and
yeah.
empower ourselves with the knowledge, the kind of better it is for us, isn't it?
I completely agree. And I also think it's really, really important to make this distinction between perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
Because in perimenopause, your hormones are fluctuating. So one day, and I guess this is the other part of it, like no one wakes up in the morning and goes, oh my God, my estrogen's through the roof, right? You have no idea. You have to kind of learn to manage that. But so you think about it in perimenopause, these things are all kind of fluctuating, and you think about the three sort of sex hormones for women: estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And then think that those three sort of act in a kind of perfect orchestra. And if one of them is out of tune or out of whack, that's going to have an impact on the other two. So following on from that, what I do see is women who say, well, I'm getting breakouts, or I'm getting oily skin, or it's not the traditional kind of, oh my God, my skin is drying out and it's thinning and all the rest of it. And that really is because of that sort of hormonal orchestra being out of whack. And then obviously when we talk about menopause, that is the decline. So they are two different states of being, I think, and I think it's really important to recognize that.
Yeah, again, I agree. It's yeah, and perimenopause as well, it's confusing and a lot of people don't know when they're in it. And obviously you yourself had that experience. So tell us about your skin. What happened?
Well, do you know what, Amanda? It's probably easier to say what didn't happen. I mean, I look back on that time and I feel so sad about it because I had spots, and I had really sort of, painful deep down spots.
And
I
did you have problematic skin before then, Jackie, or maybe in your
No,
teenage
no, and
years?
that, yeah, Amanda, that is such an interesting point as well, because I do see women who say, I've got, in midlife, you say, I've got acne. I've never had acne before in my life, or spots. I mean, obviously, acne is the kind of medical definition. I've had, or alternatively, they would say, I've never had spots before and now I've got spots. Or they say, the only other time I've had spots like this is when I was a teenager. And, that's no coincidence because of
No,
the,
fluctuating hormones. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So what else did I have? Oh, it was lovely. My face hurt so much that it hurt to move it. It hurt to touch my skin. I couldn't put anything on it. It was just a nightmare. And on top of that, was having very disrupted sleep patterns. And at night, your skin repairs itself, kind of goes into repair mode. So of course, that lack of sleep then led to, really congested skin, puffiness, under eye bag. I mean, you name it, it was on my face.
Gosh, just what you don't need.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, as I said, it's the one, like, you avoid mirrors, and it's the one
Uh-huh.
thing that you
Yeah.
really, that's your kind of outer, sort of, that's how you're showing yourself in the world.
And was it just on your face, Jackie?
It was just on my face, yeah. It
Yeah.
was. I
Again,
mean,
because I have a few people that, have gone through postmenopause, perimenopause, but have had skin issues, but it's, generally on the neck or their face. Is that because
yeah.
we've got more or glands, or I can't remember what the reason is for why
No.
it's more on the face rather than the whole body.
My feeling is that your skin, your facial skin is the one that's most exposed to the elements. And when we talk about disruption to the skin, we're really talking about disruption to the skin barrier function.
Okay.
And really, the skin barrier function is absolutely what we need to be focusing on. So if you think about your skin as being bricks and mortar, and you have a disrupted barrier, that mortar is weakened. Now, that mortar consists primarily of linoleic acid, which is omega-6, and ceramides. And if that is depleted, it means all the good stuff can get out, so water, moisture, but equally the bad stuff can get in. So environmental aggressors, bacteria, so more spots, more sun damage, all of those things. And because your face is obviously exposed all the time, and we'll obviously go on and talk about SPF later on, I think that's where it shows up the most.
Yeah, yeah. Gosh. So yeah, so how did you tackle it? I mean, I I I empathize with you. In my, I don't know, I was about 23 and I suddenly came out in spots like acne. And again, I had the odd pimple in my teenage years. Other
Mm,
than that, my skin was really, well behaved. And then suddenly I had acne and it went on for about a couple of months and then it just went away. But
yeah,
it was quite isolating and horrible. And, like you said, you avoid mirrors and then the tea tree oil. And I remember this every time I smell tea tree oil, I'm reminded of that time when I just, it's really horrible. It's really horrible for you. It's not great for your mental health because I mean, you just want to, your face is like your window to the world, isn't it? It's your sort of, your shop window. And if it's, you just, yeah. So I mean, it's so tough for people having facial skin that isn't
yeah.
great. So yeah,
Honestly, my heart goes out to people because I know that it doesn't have to be like that.
yes, yeah.
And I think it's very much in your approach because we're absolutely bombarded with products, skincare products, newness, there's single ingredient serums, oils. There is such a plethora out there.
Mm.
The first thing that I always say to anyone is, absolutely strip back your routine. There is no need for extra serums and fragrances and everything else. You need to really, really simplify your regime, focus on strengthening that barrier, and not introduce things which are going to upset it. So my first reaction when it happened to me was, oh God, I must get some sort of exfoliating acid or something like that to try and get rid of this dry skin. And
So yeah, what was so your skin broke out? It was painful. Was there a a medical definition for what you had going on?
perimenopause.
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't like you had
Really
acne
not,
or
it's not specific. Just
dermatitis or anything like that. It was, yeah,
well,
nonsense.
look, we see a lot of women who have perioral dermatitis, and we have a lot of before and after photographs on our website. People that we've helped with perioral dermatitis, which is kind of eczema around your nose and your mouth, can be quite
Okay.
painful.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always say to people, which they're quite surprised by, is just check the ingredients in your toothpaste because you really don't want anything around there that's irritating it at all.
Yes.
And again, strip out the fragrances, up your ceramides, up your linoleic acid, peptides to help your skin produce its own collagen, um, phytosqualene, so things which are going to moisturize the skin, attract moisture to the skin, humectants, no fragrances. No, if you have a physical exfoliator, like, do you remember when we were growing up, you had that apricot scrub?
Lots of scrubs. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just yeah.
chuck them all. Chuck them all. The best place for those are in the bin.
Yeah. So that's what you did, was it? You started exfoliating. That's what you were saying earlier.
I tried to use some acids
Oh,
because
acids. Yeah.
that would
Okay.
help.
Yeah.
And that was 4 years ago. I haven't been able to use acid since. My skin just became so sensitive. And again, I see women all the time who say, listen, I've been using the same regime pretty much for the last 10 years. It's always served me really well. It's not serving me now. What's going on?
Hmm.
And again, I have to say, it is this impact that estrogen is having on your skin barrier function and the
Yes.
resulting hormonal action. So please don't feel that you are to blame or that you've done something wrong, because you haven't. It's your hormones.
Yeah, and I think that applies to the whole body. People
Mm,
say to me, I've not changed a thing. I'm still
mm.
doing, the same amount of exercise. I'm still eating the same diet, yet I'm gaining weight, and it's hormones are powerful messengers. They tell your body, what to do and how to react. And when that's sort of all over the place, you are the same. You're just not stable anymore. You kind of, and I'm always kind of coaching people that you kind of you need a new approach in perimenopause and menopause. What worked, before isn't going to work now and going forward. And it's just a case of, finding what's right for you. And once you found that, the results can be amazing. And looking at your skin, you've obviously, completely resolved any skin issues that you had. Again, you're sitting here with lovely glowing skin. So yeah, so tell us about that, how you did fix your skin.
Well,
Obviously it wasn't a quick fix by the sound of it, but
no, no, it wasn't. And I would say to women, just, don't panic. I've been there, reach out to us. We're always very happy to help. I completely feel your pain. I am the co-founder of a CBD oil company, which my husband set up because he is a hemp farmer. And hemp is a really, really interesting crop to grow. It's quite hard to grow in this country. You have to under license from the Home Office. Um, but we are a farm that operates on principles of regenerative agriculture. So we focus very much on soil health, soil microbiome, what crops we can grow in rotation to increase the soil health, because if you have optimal soil health, you have optimal plants. Their roots go deep down into the soil, they have supreme nutrient uptake, and that in turn produces incredible crops, which in turn are highly nutritious and great for your gut.
amazing.
Um, yeah, so it's a bit of a segue, but stay with me because it
Yeah, yeah,
will make
yeah, yeah.
I'm not just saying it. And so Crop England makes oral oils, so tinctures, CBD oils, and CBD teas. And what we do is we grow our hemp because it's great for the soil. It's also great for the environment. A field of hemp will absorb more carbon than a mature wood of the same size.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it has incredible benefits for the soil. So we know that we can grow it, and then the next crop that we grow in that field where we've grown the hemp will be a really good quality crop. But we also do other things, like we have beehives. Bee pollination can increase the yield in a field of beans by up to 20%. We have no-till, so we don't sort of scrunch up the land and destroy that microbiome. And when I was looking at CBD products in general, I knew that CBD can be great for the skin. You have an endocannabinoid system within your body, and this kind of field of research into the endocannabinoid system was described by the late Michael Mosley as one of the most interesting modern scientific discoveries. It can regulate your system. So you produce endocannabinoids like CBD, CBG, CBV, CBN yourself. As you get older, with so many things, they decline. And CBG, which is what we use at Made of More, is antimicrobial, it's antiviral, and it's anti-inflammatory. And that is absolutely key when you think about experiencing spots, redness, dryness, all in one go. So it's a proper multitasker. Now, the hemp seed oil, we grow the hemp at the farm, and it is processed at the farm as well. So we have all the oil pressing facilities, we have clean rooms, we have labs, we have everything then. Hemp seed oil, as I'm sure you will know with your, in your role as a nutritionist, super good source of omega-3, 6, and 9. And I was talking earlier about linoleic acid occurring in your skin, omega-6.
There's
So hemp,
rich in linoleic
hemp,
acid.
yeah.
Yeah.
So hemp seed oil on your skin is really great for increasing your barrier function and helping strengthen that skin's barrier.
Interesting.
So I thought, oh, we have, it's lovely for me because it's fully traceable. The hemp that's grown on our farm doesn't have any, chemical intervention. It doesn't need much water.
So most hemp oils will have chemical intervention.
I think for me personally, I would always buy organic. But the truth is, from a commercial perspective, if you're in farming, making that leap to being organic, certified organic, has huge financial implications. And for a lot of people, it's just not possible. We don't use any fertilizers or chemicals on our hemp. So it is grown without chemical intervention. It's not certified organic, but it's always tested, as with any kind of cosmetic product, you have to test it and produce those results. So CBG is great for your skin. Hemp seed oil is great for your skin. I do think as well, sort of growing up in the 90s and the 80s, the idea of putting an oil on your skin is a little bit counterintuitive. But it's not, it doesn't feel really oily. I was very, very specific when we formulated the product that, they were to be a joy to use. They were to be luxurious. They were to be efficacious. And the other thing which was super important to me was that the ingredients that we use, and we can go on and talk about the other ingredients because they are all tailored specifically for midlife skin, and they are as a result of me talking to doctors, women's health experts, spending time with women, really doing the research into what it was that people felt were their big skin concerns. All of these things will help your skin. We've got no exfoliants in there. We've got no fragrance in there as a result of not having fragrance, because I think, you will have had other people on your podcast who would have said the same thing. Just don't put things on there that aren't going to help.
Yeah, a lot of people will say, like you said earlier, that they've used a skincare product, and when skincare products smell lovely, it's nice, isn't it? It's like nice to have nice smells, but actually, most midlife skin doesn't really need fragrance. And people will say to me that they've started reacting to fragrance when they never had before. So I think generally, midlife skin isn't that keen on, not everybody, but a lot of people.
No.
So did you sort of do this dive into, CBG and hemp oil for your own skin? Is that, did you start using that? I'm just interested how you came to formulate the product and how you resolved your own your skin issues.
I would notice that if, if I am not, I grew up in London, okay, I'm not a kind of traditional farmer's wife. And one thing that I just can't get my head around an Arga. I'm sorry, I don't, I don't get it. And as a result, I was pretty good at burning myself on the Arga. And I would notice that whenever I would put our CBD oil on it. Made More wasn't around at that time, but we had cropping. I would put the Crop England CBD oil on it, and it was really soothing. It would really help reduce the scarring, make it feel better. I'm prone to patches of eczema from time to time. I would use it on that as well, and just found it to be really efficacious.
So that was a CBD rather than the CBG, or
that was CBD, and it had long been a desire of mine to introduce a skincare product to the crop range.
Okay.
But I also found that working with one's husband was not particularly conducive to a happy marriage.
Okay.
So I feel actually my children were sort of between the ages of kind of 5 and 8. And I thought I'd always been used to working. As I said, I had a career before we moved up to Lincolnshire. My children didn't need me so much on a kind of, on a kind of basic level, like they could look after themselves. I thought, God, I really feel like this is time to do something for me. So in actual fact, I know my experiences of how my hormones have affected my skin. I know how efficacious CBD and CBG can be for the skin. Wouldn't it be great to set up some skincare which was specifically for my age, that didn't talk about aging, and had really thoughtful, clever, innovative ingredients? It was really one of the things that I noticed when I went to look at products was I mean, we've touched on the fragrance, but it was always about anti-aging. And it very much had this message of, for you, and don't you want your wrinkles reduced, and don't you want to look younger, and here, have this cream, it will be fine. And it was never really, they weren't interesting, exciting ingredients. It was like hyaluronic acid or, well, show me something that's interesting. And following on from that, and knowing that I didn't want to be sort of fobbed off with those types of ingredients. Not fobbed off. They obviously have a role to play. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trashing them for 1 minute, but like, can we take it a bit further? So when I was working with a formulator, the ingredients that we used, the one stipulation from my side was that they had to have the data. So they had to have the trials behind them. So I could say, I know this works because, and then at Made of More, we've gone one further in that we name those ingredients on our website and we publish the data behind them. So when I talk about one of our ingredients, for example, which is called Gladback, you could go, well, you might have just pulled that name out of the air. No, I haven't. It's on our website. The data is there. And then if you want to go and have a look at it for yourself as well, which I really want you to do if you're interested in the product, you can see it's there. It stimulates hormone production. It helps us produce hyaluronic.
Because that's another thing. When you buy, a pot of cream, even the box, you look at the box with your midlife eyes. And there's like, the writing's so teeny tiny. It's like, you're like, oh God, I can't even be bothered. I can't, and there's so many ingredients and you can't pronounce them. They're like, 7, 8 syllables. I mean, who knows what you're buying? But, we've all been, I've been guilty of that, just buying these kind of creams where there's so many ingredients. And one thing I have noticed with yours, it's really clear and easy to read what's in them, which is,
good. Yes.
Good news.
Well, that's what I wanted, because we're a no bullshit brand. Like I can't legitimately look at a product that goes may help increase moisture in your skin and think, oh yeah, and then you see the small print and it's like tested on 15 people or something. Like, no, okay, that's sorry.
So the CBD and the CBG and the hemp oil, they sound like, so they all help the skin barrier. Yeah. What else are in your products?
Okay, so we have, one of the things that I really noticed was that I had this lack of sleep. And, we've all been there. You have disrupted night's sleep, or you go out with your girlfriends and you're in bed at, I don't know, midnight or whatever, and you're struggling to sleep. You've had a good time. I just find that now it shows up on my face, or it showed up on my face. It's like, God, it seems really unfair that I get to go and drink margaritas with my girlfriend, and then the next day I wake up and I look like, the wreck of the Hesperus. So we have a fantastic ingredient in the night souffle, which is called bicacadin, and that's Korean bush clover. That reduces puffiness and reduces oxidation in your skin. So when we talk about melasma and dark patches, you may find in midlife that you have an increase in that. And that, again, is, well, there's a couple of reasons behind that. But again, that's principally hormonal. And I think on a previous podcast, you mentioned that you suffer from melasma when you were pregnant.
Yes, yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. So you do see that as sort of increased dark patches. And that is such an interesting ingredient because it was tested on night workers. So I think they said after a week, 18% reduction in puffiness.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I love that. Okay, you are really in the weeds of it if you're working at night, because your skin doesn't have that chance to repair properly. So let's, that looks lovely. Let's put that in. Korean bush clover. Yeah, love that. So I think that's a really interesting ingredient. I really like Gladback as well, that's all about, we talk about a slowed cell turnover rate. So your skin would look a bit sort of grey, look a bit sluggish. Again, not wanting to use a kind of acid or an exfoliant. What can you do to kind of improve that microcirculation? And Gladback does that. And what's great about that is that it also increases your skin's hyaluronic acid production and collagen production. So this isn't about, necessarily putting a cream on your face and hoping for the best. Like, this will actually help your skin to help itself.
Yes.
And I think that is such a compelling idea. So I know that you've talked in the past about consistency with your skincare, and that is super important. But we found that women who've used the night souffle, which has beta-caine and gladback in it, have said the next morning that they've woken up and their skin has been bouncy. And I thought, God, that sounds amazing. I'd love some bouncy skin. And also, can I say something which probably is slightly counterintuitive for a founder of a skincare brand? But I would urge women, if you wake up in the morning and your skin doesn't feel like it needs it, you do not need to cleanse. And Dr. Sani would back me up on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just a kind of, a damp flannel with some water,
Yeah.
and you should be fine. But don't kind of, if it feels good and the barrier's all feeling fine, looks good.
Yes. Yeah, you can really overdo it, can't you? And
Yeah.
trip your skin. Yeah.
No,
I've never used a cleanser in the morning.
no, I haven't either.
And I've heard people say, oh, you've got to use a cleanser and you've got to use a toner. If you don't use the toner, the cleanser's not, you're not closing the pores. And I just thought, I just can't believe that. It just just doesn't sound quite right. But
Well, I love debunking the myths as well. That's it's always quite a fun thing to do, isn't it?
yes, yeah.
Question everything.
And often you're getting the advice from people that are trying to sell you something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
They don't want you to buy one product, they want you to buy four.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Gosh, so far all those ingredients sound amazing. That's the night souffle, or all those in the night souffle that
Yeah,
you
that's the night souffle. And we also use, I mean, I was so lucky with working with the chemist that I work with, because she had formulated cosmetic products for a really long time. And she was also menopausal. So when I explained to her, look, this is what we're trying to achieve. I want to make something that's a joy to use, that's luxurious, that feels like a treat, but also, you know, properly stands up, and has some fun in it, and some, these ingredients that we've been talking about. She said to me, "Oh my God, this is a dream. This is the thing that I've always wanted to work on, because we're being really specific." And I was very anti this idea of a hot flash spray, because they're generally like water and alcohol and menthol, and they're just going to dry out your skin. So instead, we've used an ingredient called griffalin, which is a fermented mushroom. And it's normally, this is one thing that I'm really proud of, actually. It's normally used in SPF products because it can reduce your skin's temperature, not by much, but that fluctuation in skin's temperature is really not very good for your collagen production. And this just cools it down. So it cools it down, I like to think, in a kind of elegant way. I don't know of any other skincare products which are not SPF that are using it in this way. But yeah, it doesn't feel like, when you put the cream on, it doesn't feel like you're kind of, cooling your skin down.
is
But
this
it's
in the night souffle, or
that's the night
in the
souffle.
night souffle, which is your sort of, your one of your flagship products? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, well, there are, in the skincare range, there are only four products, and that
Yeah.
is very, very deliberate,
Uh-huh.
because, again, I really don't believe in overcomplicating things. I understand that we have a lot of constraints on our time, at this age, teenagers, children, aging parents, running a home, having a job. So I wanted it to be a kind of, I don't have to think too hard about using this, and I know it's going to perform for me. And that, again, in Brilliance, which is our day shield, which doesn't have SPF in it, by the way, we can go on and talk about that. But
Yeah.
it does have some sort of light reflecting minerals in it. So it's not like disco ball, but it is just literally, okay, I can put this on my face in the mornings, grab my SPF and go. And it kind of, someone said, it just takes the edge off, which I really love. And then we have another one, which I'm really proud of, actually, our Rescue Balm, which is our bestseller. And when people buy this, they just tend to buy sort of two or three, because it's one of those products that you have in your.
So
Thank
I have one
you.
here. Yeah, it's lovely. It's so nice.
Because it's these flat tubes, which, by the way, are 50% post-consumer recycled plastic, not
Oh,
30%.
amazing. That's good to know.
But
Yeah.
it's flat. I love
Got
this
our little tubes. You can't see this, but Jackie and I are
I know
waving
we're
tubes
waving
at
them
each
around,
other.
but they're very flat, so
Rescue
they fit
Bowl.
really easily in your jeans pocket.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just have, I have one in the car, I have one in my dog walking jacket, I have one in
And
my.
how do you use it? I mean,
Well, it's
I've been using it around
kind of,
my eyes, just here.
yeah,
It's really
good.
nice. and
Yeah.
here, and kind of makes you
Yeah.
quite dewy.
Yeah.
So you can't see this. I'm sort of pointing towards, like where your crow's feet are, and just sort of under the eye. Yeah, it just gives me that nice sort of glowy kind of look.
It's super helpful, and it was in part I read about this sort of trend. I think it was on TikTok, and I'm sure my girls do it. But it was, I'm sorry, I've got teenage boys. I've got two teenage girls who are 13 and 14. Called slugging, where you would put active ingredients on your face, and then you would put Vaseline or something, which is what we call an occlusive. So it actually is like a physical barrier, so nothing can get in or out. And the idea is that you kind of seal in those ingredients.
Okay.
I
Sounds a bit suffocating.
Yeah, well, petroleum-based products are really not for me, I'm afraid. But I do quite like the idea, if your skin is super dry and you're trying to get it to behave, of sealing something in. So what we do say to women who have super, super dry skin is that if you use a night souffle and then you put a very thin layer of the rescue balm on top, which is ceramides, hemp seed oil, CBG, and that's it. And by the way, 3 different types of really interesting ceramides, particularly one that deals with sagging. That I have women that come to me, and I feel it myself as well, like when your jaw starts to go a bit.
Yeah, yeah. We all want to
Because you haven't got
avoid that, but it happens.
So I would do a night souffle, and then I'd put the rescue balm on top. But really, rescue balm is amazing to mix in with your foundation in the morning. Sometimes I put a bit in with brilliance if it's cold, or if I know I'm going to be in and out of central heating. It's a kind of massive multitasker. It's the all purpose. I think the last time we had a go in the office trying to work out how many different uses there were for it, I think we got to something like 31. So
Yeah.
it's, through the eyebrows. It has some sort of plastic free brightening agent in there called Cocoa Blur. Again, that's
Maybe that's why I sort of, when I put it, sort of
yeah,
on my brow bone, I feel like, not my brow bone, this
yeah,
bone
I know
under
what
your
it
eye,
is.
which is just
Yeah,
sort of, I don't remember
yeah,
what it's called now, is it occipital or something? But
yeah,
this bone here, yeah, you do feel
yeah.
like it just makes you look a little bit more glowy.
Yeah, so it was really the thinking behind that was, when you get that kind of 3 o'clock in the afternoon slump and you need like some vitamin B12 or just something. It's like, oh God, well, I feel like my face needs it as well, actually. So I know that if I have this with me, I can just sort of I put it under my eyebrow, put it through my eyebrows, and then again, yeah, high up on the cheekbone.
And when you say, so if you're putting a cream on your eyebrow, is that for the skin, for your sort of, your eyelid, the skin here, and it's going to seep down, or is it you're just, moisturizing your eyebrows?
Just for moisture, really.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but also the fact that it has those minerals does give you a bit of a lift. But again, it's like, dry cuticles or dry hands,
Yeah.
elbow.
Because you don't have an eye cream, do you, in your range? Do you? So you would just use your moisturizer, like the souffle or the rescue
Yeah,
balm around your eyes? Is that?
it's such an interesting question, Amanda. When I started the brand, and again, thinking about this idea of minimalism and what you don't need, I was pretty adamant that we weren't going to do an eye cream. And obviously, we're a startup business, so there are only so many things that you can do. If you fast forward to now and how I feel about my skin, and when I speak to women, what they, because we can ask, we're fortunate, we can ask women, like, what do you want to see next for Made More? And the results are always really interesting. A lot of women have said eye cream, and actually, I am really starting to feel like I need some eye cream because the skin under your eye is obviously so much thinner than anywhere else on
Mm,
your face.
yeah.
And I've really started to notice that recently, in that, I've been trying to sort of make more of an effort and showing up and putting makeup on. And I've noticed that I have to do a lot more preparation with my skin now before I put makeup on. And so I would love to do an eye cream. Is it sort of 100% necessary? I'm not sure that it is, but I do see, I see some incredible formulations out there for eye creams. Do you
Yeah.
use one?
Do you know, I did for a long time. And yeah, I haven't been using one recently. Dr. Mina, the dermatologist that was on, she sort of said, oh, it's not necessary. I don't know why. I'm drawn to them, but I don't know if that's just because I've always had an eye cream, but they feel a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
maybe nothing in there that's going to irritate the eye if it does get into the eye. So I'm kind of, yeah, I quite like, I'm sure you've heard of Eye skincare products, which are very clean pH.
Yes, lovely. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she has a really nice range. So I might use, I think they've got one called Feather Light, which is just very lovely. And it's,
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah, and you just sort of, and it makes you kind of target that area that maybe you wouldn't do
Yes.
so much with a standard night cream. I kind of feel like, now I'm kind of feeling like I'm getting bags here. And sometimes when I, under my eye, and when you smile, I'm like, oh God, I didn't used to have those. It's
Yeah, I know.
just so cruel, isn't it? It gives you this lovely bouncy skin.
Yeah.
As you get older,
Not
you just
fair.
have to watch it kind of changing. And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know about you, but I had this conversation with the dermatologist, Dr. Mina. But I personally don't really want to go down the road of Botox and fillers. And
Yeah.
never say never. If I looked in the mirror and thought, oh my God, but yeah, I kind of just want to have nice skin and make the best of it and sort of be happy with my, with my lines. And, that's just my journey through life, really, isn't it? And how you've weathered it and, yeah. And do what obviously I'm a nutritionist, so it's always nutrition first and what you can do, what you eat has a profound effect on your skin.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
absolutely. Go away on a holiday or something, or you're eating the foods that you're not eating at home, or taking the supplements, and you're having a few late nights and a few margaritas and all the rest of it. You absolutely see it in your face.
Yeah, I think you said it earlier, don't you? You wake up in the morning and it shows on your face whether you've had that late night. Whereas, in your 30s, you'd be able to go out and have a few drinks with girlfriends and, not get to bed till 12:01, get up at, 7 o'clock and, you just look fine. But it's like you
Oh,
just,
it's so unfair.
yeah, it's so unfair. You do have to make more effort. There's no dressing up. You just absolutely do. You
Yeah.
absolutely do. So, yeah, what do you think of like, retinol, because we talked about retinol in the last podcast, the vitamin A and on your skin. Do you think that's a good
Well,
product to use, several times a week?
look, the data behind it is obviously incredibly compelling, and there is no question that it is an effective ingredient. The truth is, I can't put it anywhere near my face. And I speak to a lot of women who say, God, I've tried and I've tried to do the low and slow, and I don't really want to purge. I don't really want those kind of uncomfortable side effects all the way through. I, I, I've never used a retinol, and I can't really ever see myself getting to a point where I would. I mean, I think there are a lot of kind of, non-invasive things that people can look at. And I have absolutely no issue with people wanting to use Botox or fillers or, you do you. It makes
Yeah,
you happy.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely perfect for me. But there are some really interesting things out there that Dr. Sani talks about, like radio frequency or, microneedling, things like that. And I I don't really want to use an ingredient where someone says, "Oh, it's going to make your face hurt for a bit potentially." I just don't want that. And I get that it works brilliantly for a lot of women, but equally, when we're talking about increased sensitivity in midlife or how your skin might behave, I just wouldn't want to do it. So it works for a lot of people, and that's great. Equally, I see a lot of people that it doesn't work for, and I am here for them.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. And I have used your product, the Night Souffle and the Rescue Balm, and they just do feel very comfortable. That inobtrusive. You put them on your skin, they don't smell really strong. And yeah, and my skin did look lovely and matte, and kind of evened out after using it for a while.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
no, it's really it's very lovely, and it does go on, and it's not thick and greasy. It's just quite light, but
Yeah.
you feel like it's
Yeah.
getting to work kind of thing.
Yeah, and there is one study out there which is I think it's on PubMed, I think, which is about people who are using retinol and then using CBD or CBG cream on top afterwards.
Yeah.
And what they've found is that because of the properties of the CBD and the CBG, the less pleasant side effects of using a retinol were greatly reduced, to the point where the theory was that you could increase the amount of retinol that you had if you were using a CBD cream on top.
Yeah.
I can't comment on that because obviously I haven't done it. but I do have friends who use the tretinoin or, a prescription grade, will put it on, wait 5 minutes, and then either use the rescue balm or the night souffle on top. And it definitely seems to soothe things.
Yeah.
So it's a really helpful product when it comes to lessening inflammation, and again, as I said before, sort of antimicrobial properties.
Yeah. And if someone has got problematic skin, it's just a really nice, clean product to use that isn't going to, cause a flare up or irritate your skin.
I think one of the things that's really lovely about it is the fact that I've had women who've said, well, look, I know it's sort of midlife, but, I've got a teen or someone in their 20s who's suffering with their skin. Can they use it as well? And I always say, well, listen, I don't like sharing, but yes, you can.
Yeah.
And I have friends who've used it on their children. And one lady who's so sweet got in contact and she said, it's so nice. My daughter has her cleansing balm and I have my cleansing balm, and we use them together every night. We sort of sit together, and her daughter's teens, and we kind of talk through our day whilst we're doing our sort of, cleanse together. And she said it's the only thing that's helped her skin. So, that's great if it helps you when you're in the middle.
I mean, my daughter, she's sort of, she goes into my bathroom and she says, "Oh, Mum, it's great in here. You've got so many different creams," and she takes advantage of all of them. So she doesn't mind if they're for midlife, whatever.
Yeah, I go for it.
Gives them a go. Yeah.
I just think, can you please put it back?
Yeah, that really is really annoying, isn't it? When you've got your system and you need your system, because when you're really busy, you just need to be able to grab it and know where it is. And when it's not there, it's like,
it's like the chargers, the chargers.
Oh, really? I'm quite militant. If anyone takes the chargers from the island, it's not pretty, but doesn't happen much these days.
I've gone to the pound shop and bought some like cartoony children's unicorn stickers and stuck them all over my chargers. I'm like, no teenager is going to nick a charger if it's got glittery unicorn on it. So we'll see. That's my latest strategy anyway.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, mine are in their 20s. They wouldn't mind at all. They would get
battery.
Yeah, no, exactly. You talked a little bit earlier, Jackie, about ceramides. Can you tell us a bit more about what ceramides do for your skin?
Yeah, ceramides are great. They're already in your skin. They will help comfort and soothe your skin's barrier. And they're skin identical. So the chances of you having, a breakout or a bad reaction to them are minimal, which is great. So I think you see a lot. I think we've got ceramide 3 and 4, and then we've got a ceramide called Sphenox Lift. Again, when we talk about, the barrier function, that's the kind of thing that you should be looking out for in your skincare. Ceramides, peptides, no fragrance. So they're kind of stalwarts for midlife skincare, I would say.
Okay, yeah, ceramides. And what's your opinion on vitamin C? Because I don't think do you have any vitamin C in your products?
Well, it's a really interesting question, actually. We don't have vitamin C in our product, but there is evidence out there that CBG and CBD have higher antioxidant properties than vitamin C.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have noticed, and actually my father, who's 74, had some quite bad melasma on his face, and he'd been using our cream, and he'd been using the night souffle, and he said that his dark patches were really reduced. And I have another friend who uses the rescue balm. She spends a lot of time outside, and she uses the rescue balm whenever a brown patch appears. She just kind of gets that on there. So yeah, there isn't vitamin C in there.
So it sounds like you don't need it because you've got the CBG.
No, you don't. There's low levels of vitamin C in the cleansing balm.
Okay.
The cleansers are really interesting because I see a lot of women who say, I'm having, my skin's really dried out and I'm using a balm and it's not really helping. And I was guilty of this myself as well. I used a balm and after I used it, my skin would feel so dry. I couldn't move my face. I was hopping around the bathroom trying to get to the moisturizer. And the reason for that is that a lot of commercial grade, commercial balms will have surfactants in them, which is foaming agents. And that will just irritate your skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say look very carefully at that. We use soapwort, which is a natural cleansing agent, and it really doesn't strip your skin. So you do end up with skin that is clean after you've used our balm, but it's definitely not stripped. And that, again, is one of the things that I'm most proud of when it comes to cleansers, because the cleanser is, I think, in your kind of arsenal of skincare, the cleanser is the one that people feel most loyal to and they feel
Yes.
most
Yeah.
committed to. And when you find a good one, you stick with it.
Yeah.
But, formulations change in different products. I've I've spoken to women who've said, God, I hadn't really thought about changing my cleanser, and now I'm using Clarity, and I really, really like it. So it's a nice one because you can put it in the fridge and just use it as a fast-acting mask because of that super oxy, which is a vitamin C. But it's not going to kind of irritate and just sort of freshen things up. And it's beautiful. Feels like a gel when it comes out, but it's sort of
Yeah.
melts to this oil, which yeah, I mean that took a lot of iterations.
I bet. Yeah. So you didn't really answer the question, and I'm sure if people are listening, they're going to want to know, what did you do then to get rid of your problematic skin? Did you you thought you started using the CBD or the CBG? What was the turning point for you? Because obviously
Yeah,
now you don't have problematic skin. You've got lovely, lovely skin.
thank you. Yeah, so I stripped everything back. That was the first thing that I did. Just stopped using loads of products. All the kind of single ingredient serums and things. That was all bit. I went to water and a microfiber cloth, which I changed every day. Or always change your cleansing cloth daily, by the way.
Okay, good advice.
And then just very, very basic. I used our CBD oil on my face, and then used a SPF during the day, and then gradually things started to improve. But it's not an overnight sort of quick fix. And also, again, putting oil on your face might seem a little bit counterintuitive, but it was just those kind of basics of hemp seed oil, CBD, and cleaning my face properly.
Yeah, so they were helping with the barrier function, and they've also got this sort of antioxidant,
anti-inflammatory. Yeah.
anti-inflammatory, kind of angle to them. Yeah, brilliant. And if people are listening and they do have problematic skin right now, what should they totally avoid in skin creams? Are there any sort of red flags that they should really be avoiding?
Yeah, I think as we've touched on earlier, I think foaming agents, so SLS, things like that are definitely worth taking out just because you just don't want to be stripping the barrier. And also, I would say fragrance. It's not going to do you any favors. If you any harsh actives, any acids, strip all of that back as well. Just try and strengthen that barrier and not create any more irritation. But also understand, please, 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 that it's not your fault.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we did touch on this, but we didn't really expand on it. SPF. So, obviously the advice is to wear SPF. And yeah, and I did say to the dermatologist, oh, what about putting all these kind of like chemicals on your skin all the time? And, she said that actually the levels that get into your bloodstream are not really going to cause you any issues. What's your opinion on SPF and what number you should wear? And should you wear it every day?
Yeah, I think it's an absolute non-negotiable for midlife skin, obviously, but not necessarily for the reasons that people think. So clearly you want everyday protection. And I would always, as a matter of course, use an SPF 50. And I would always, as a matter of course, use a dedicated SPF 50.
You wouldn't have them, like with a daily moisturizer and an SPF together.
No, absolutely not. And Dr. Sunny would be exactly the same. And I'll tell you exactly why. So,
Okay.
so you're wearing SPF obviously because you're protecting your skin from the sun. And there was an article published in Marie Claire last week about CBD and CBG being helpful for UVA damage, but it's not kind of quantified. It was, it's quite a small study, but nevertheless, I thought it was quite interesting how they did the test. You are protecting your skin against 40 years of accumulated sun damage if you're using an SPF. And again, when we're talking about hormones and how they impact melasma and things like that, you're also reducing that and protecting yourself against those hormonal changes. Now, when we formulated Brilliance, which is the day shield that we talked about earlier, I was absolutely adamant that it would be an SPF 50 and anybody could use it, but it had to be mineral. And there's obviously a big discussion about white class with mineral.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a tricky time. We thought we'd nailed it just about. Yes, this is SPF. It was SPF 30. And then it went off to go and be tested in the lab, and it came back and they said, oh, actually, this is SPF 8. So I think probably with hindsight, that did me a favor, because I now know that a dedicated SPF is absolutely the way forward. And again, Dr. Sunny would say the same thing. And you also do need to reapply it during the day. So obviously you put it on first thing in the morning, but then if you're going out in the afternoon, you're taking the dog for a walk, whatever it is, you do need to put it on again. And there are some great sprays out there that will also help you with that. But I feel much, much more comfortable now that our day cream is our day cream, and then we advise people to use a separate SPF, because I'm not an SPF expert. So yeah, painful lesson learned.
Yeah. And are there any SPFs that you'd recommend?
Well, Dr. Sunny and I both agreed on this, and the one that he would recommend and the one that I would recommend, based on the fact that my father's had melanoma on his face, and I have a friend who's just had some moles removed, and that's been a particularly painful procedure for her. And both their specialists and Dr. Sunny would say La Roche-Posay. You can buy it on the high street. It's always on special offer, and it is absolutely fail-safe. So if that's the NHS specialist saying that's the one, and Dr. Sunny saying...
Can you say that brand again?
Sure, it's La Roche, Roche, Posay, Posay.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
And it's in all the high street chemists.
Yeah, okay.
But they do a great range, and they do fragrance-free, and they do one for kids, and they do sprays. And there's, they're recommended by these people for a reason. I also quite like one by a company called Heliocare, Helio.
Oh, yes, yeah, I've got one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a tinted one as well, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's kind of all the questions that I had. I suppose just one last question. At the end of the podcast, I do like to ask guests, as midlife women, as a midlife woman yourself, do you have any key advice that you could sort of pass on, to other women listeners that, would make a sort of difference to their lives? A couple of things that maybe you've learned through your journey?
Yeah, I do. So recently we've launched a thing called the Intimate Serum, which is specifically designed for women to have more fun in the bedroom. And it has made me really think about the concept of women's pleasure and enjoyment, not just in the bedroom, but in the wider spectrum. And I think that that's made me really think about how women put themselves first. And we don't, ever, I don't think. And there seems to be this whole kind of web of emotions around the idea that you can't put yourself first. So, you might feel guilty if you sit down and read your book and have a cup of tea for 10 minutes or whatever it is. And I really want women to know that, if you don't put yourself first and you don't take a break, you will break. So listen to your body, do what it's telling you to do. If you feel like you need to, get out, get into the sun with your SPF on, please put yourself first. And please recognize that as much as there is a lot of kind of doom and gloom around the second half, it absolutely doesn't have to be that way. It's a privilege. And let's make it count. Let's make it fun. yeah, I think that would probably
That's a brilliant note to end on. Yeah, so let's put ourselves first. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jackie, for taking the time and, telling us about how we can help ourselves when it comes to our skin. If people would like to come and have a look at your products, how can they find you?
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at weare.madeofmore, and our website is www.madeofmore.co.uk, and we have a welcome discount on there as well if you sign up. So come and say hello, reach out if you have a problem that you'd like to talk to Sunny about, if you want to share an experience, if you want to ask me anything. I am all about hanging out with women. So, if I can help, I will do anything I can to do so.
Well, thank you, Jackie. Really appreciate your time. And
You're
I'm sure
really
that's going to be really useful information for a lot of people that listen to this podcast.
great.
So that was the very knowledgeable Jackie Lamyman, founder of Made of More. So if you are interested in trying any of Jackie's products, and I think you'll agree, just speaking to Jackie made me realise that, her products have such integrity, and I have used them and they do really seem very high quality. And I like the fact that they're not full of, 20, 30 different ingredients that you can't pronounce. And also what I found quite interesting was that the hemp element, the CBD and the CPG that Jackie puts into her products has a higher antioxidant content than vitamin C. So that's quite interesting. And I also like the fact that she talked very much about protecting the barrier. And when that breaks down, that's when we can start, having problematic skin. Anyway, if you did want to try her products, do go onto the website, Made of More. Jackie has very kindly given us a discount code of 20% off our first purchase. So that's Amanda Rider 20, that is the code. That's Amanda Rider 20 in capitals. So yeah, do have a look. And, even if you just look and read on the website, I'm sure you'll find something interesting. Lovely to have your company as always. And I just wanted to tell you that next time I'm going to be talking about how to eat healthily in 2025. Because let's face it, a lot has changed. We're learning new things all the time. And there's going to be lots of practical tips that you can use in your everyday life when it comes to your diet. Okay, I hope to have your company again then. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. If you'd like to find out more about my approach, you can find me and lots of my simple, nutritious recipes demonstrated on Instagram at Amanda Rider Nutrition, and that's Rider with a Y. Or you can visit my website, www.amandarider.co.uk, or if you like a copy of my book, Feel Good for Menopause, you can find that on Amazon. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could like, follow, or click the subscribe button. It will really help me grow the podcast and keep me going. So thank you. And of course, do get in touch. I'd always love to hear from you. So that leaves me to say I'm sending lots of love and light from my midlife goddess to yours. See you next week. Bye for now.